Like much of the rest of the state, the town of Arlington finds itself facing a shortage of affordable workforce housing. What is available is often beyond the means of prospective buyers, especially if they are younger folks starting out and starting families. The Arlington Area Renewal Project, a group of local residents concerned about the direction of the town, who have been meeting regularly for the past 2 years to bring new ideas to the table, zeroed in early on the housing crunch and how it was inhibiting the growth of the community. For example, more than 500 people work at Mack Molding, the town's largest employer, but only a small fraction live in town, often because they can't find local housing. This pattern, spread more widely, impacts the number of students in local schools, driving up per pupil costs and spreading the tax burden among a smaller pool of residents. So the Renewal Committee organized a housing summit meeting on Wednesday, June 5th, at the West Mountain Inn to hear from people in real estate, housing development, and local and state officials about what could be done to encourage more housing development or retrofitting and rehabbing older homes. Jim Baker, who has played a leadership role in the Arlington Area Renewal Project, described what prompted them to organize the gathering and where the next steps might lead.
We started just talking with folks, and through conversation and the other issues that we were looking at, we realized our census was going down at the school. We needed to change that trend. We started talking about some other issues around business development. How do the volunteer fire department, the volunteer rescue squad, like everybody in the state, they're struggling for members. Well, and then you take a look at the demographics, we're aging out. Bennington County, you heard here this morning, Bennington County is the oldest county in the state. We're part of that, we represent that. And as we started talking to real estate agents, we realized that one of the key issues for us as the Renewal Project to work on is the idea of affordable housing and housing opportunities to change the demographics and to put younger folks in the community, but also recognizing the fact that coming out of this conversation, which hasn't come up yet, we may need more housing for the older population.
The meeting featured several panel discussions and dialogue amongst the participants.
And we need to figure out a solution where we can make housing for local people affordable so they can come here and join our communities. A lot of our workforce travels a great distance, and if you're just getting started, and can somehow even buy a house, you often have to go far away to get an affordable home.
I originally looked at renting. There was a lot of rental properties in the area, but they were too expensive because I'm a single 26-year-old paying student loans, car, everything. So looking at more than $1,000 a month for me was completely unfeasible. That's like half of what I make every month. So it was just impossible. And so then I kind of started entertaining the idea of buying a house. And that was, maybe the monthly payments would have been a little bit more affordable, but then you also have to factor in utilities and upkeep. And so then I started looking at getting a third job. And then I kind of was doing some self kind of thinking about, well, if I'm working, over 70 hours a week and to afford this house, I'm not going to be there to enjoy it.
The economics of housing costs were discussed, along with other issues like broadband availability, dealing with distressed properties, rethinking municipal zoning, and the need for more robust wastewater, septic, and sewer systems. Faith Rhodes is a real estate agent and brought that perspective to the conversation.
So I think one of the challenges in Arlington right now is our lack of inventory. We currently only have on the market about 28 homes for sale, and that's everything ranging from a foreclosure to a multi-million-dollar property. And families who are wanting to move into the town are finding a real difficult time locating the home that they want to buy with, properly priced. New construction would be really nice to see in Arlington, but the hurdles with that for a developer would be the cost of construction versus buying a pre-existing home. So when we're looking at an over $200 price per square foot on new construction, and the sweet spot in Arlington seems to be homes priced between $200 and $250. A developer has to calculate the cost of, a 2,000 square foot home on an acre of land priced, over $200 a square foot, really outprices them on that sweet spot when you go to list the home. So it just doesn't make sense for new construction. Combine that with a lack of housing inventory in the town, it creates a real problem, and hopefully we can come to a couple of good suggestions on how to tackle this and move forward. As a town and as a resident of Arlington, I would really like to see some big steps forward from a select board level to really tackle this problem. In 2007, the state of Vermont passed wastewater regulation, creating a real problem for homeowners who have failed systems. There's a lot of red tape and a lot of hurdles to get through. The cost can be prohibitive if you currently own a home and you have a failed system. And that's preventing a lot of problems, especially in the village of Arlington and East Arlington, where we have a lot of flood zones. So it's really not a matter of if those systems will fail, it's a matter of when. And I really think that adding that infrastructure to the town will be a really big value to the homeowners.
The task of moving forward around creating new housing stock is a multi-tiered question, said Kirk Moore, the president of BMA Architects.
Well, I think they're off to a good start in having the dialogue that they're having, and it is a lot of work to try to get those costs down and to attract private development to address a market of that's not addressed by affordable housing nonprofit groups. So in order to get there, I think you have to look at zoning, you got to look at ways to get the construction costs down and rethink what the market really is and meeting those needs. So hopefully, something will come out of this and they'll move forward and make some progress in accomplishing some of those goals here in Arlington.
Several ideas for attracting younger millennial-age residents were also batted around, and some noted their preferences for small, more energy-efficient homes, often located in a town or village center.
It's sort of a green mini community idea that when I would talk about this to high school kids and college kids, they would light up at the thought that they could stay in or return to Vermont to live in a little intentional mini neighborhood that had, just like you were saying, 3 to 4 almost micro homes, highly energy efficient, solar powered, sharing a community garden, sharing a community space. I mention it only because I'm certainly not a housing development expert, but when I talk to kids about what it could take to get them to move back to Vermont or to stay in Vermont, that kind of housing option was like nirvana to them. Yes. They were so interested. They would come up and ask me if it was built yet.
The septic and wastewater issue got a lot of attention, with an underutilized system at the local schools being a possible way to obtain more municipal capacity at a lower cost. The day ended with a discussion of longer-term goals for the town. Keith Squires is the chairman of the Arlington Select Board and offered his takeaway.
It's just the fact that you've got a lot of good people working together to come up with some good ideas. That's the summary of the whole thing. I think that as we see funding come down through the whole thought of this whole municipal septic in the middle of the town, we've got to start working on that. But again, funding is crucial. It's not simple.
A report detailing the findings and conclusions from the discussions held at the summit will be one immediate follow-up of the conference. For the GNet TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.